Hi, I'm Janelle Moore. I will be your Feducation instructor today, and our topic is regarding federal contracting. Is it right for you? Whether you're interested in freelance consulting as a contractor on 1099, or you'd like to become an employee using a W-2 approach, what are the factors and considerations of each, and what can you learn from me to help you make the right decision? Why listen to me? I have been doing this now for a very long time. I've been in the business for 25 years. I have been freelance through my companies and federal for, I want to say nearly 20 years now. And if I knew then what I knew now, I would probably have been better off. So here's a rundown on the slide of some of my criteria in this field. And this would hopefully set you up to believe that I am a credible source to figure out what I did right and what I did wrong. Here is my contact information should you need to reach me. The website that you can most frequently contact me through is zenfederal.com. You're welcome to connect and follow me on LinkedIn through my profile, or you're welcome to email me directly. My purpose in creating Feducation online is to basically help you get the jobs that you want and the training that you want that previously was only accessible behind certain types of closed doors on the federal government side or within the contractor companies that hold those contracts and would contract directly with me or my clients to have me come in and provide training. I have reverted to a distance learning approach where you can access my classes online. It saves me time and allows me to present only the specific information and make myself available offline for coaching, mentoring, services, recruitment, etc. The purpose about this particular version of Feducation, about deciding whether to become a contractor who's self-employed versus working directly for an employer on a W-2 relationship, is to make an informed decision. And I'm going to take you through the steps that you need to consider so that you can make the decision that is right for you. So whether you're deciding to subcontract or directly contract as a federal contractor or a freelancer, you're going to be considered a full-time equivalency or FTE on a contract with the federal government. Now you can do that as an employee, or you can do that as a subcontractor through your own company or freelance on that 1099, which is the IRS form that report your income. I want to talk to you about the fact that the most important thing that you should ask yourself is how big of a safety net do you have versus how big of a safety net do you need? Some people are just very comfortable with being a direct employee. That benefits the employer very differently than it benefits the individual. So we are going to introduce some of those concepts to you as we go through the slides. Next is how comfortable are you attending training? Are you someone who can autonomously identify the training you need, seek it out, such as on the platforms that I train on? Or are you reliant on your employer to provide you the training at a specific time, at a specific location, with another group of people? Also, how much supervision do you need? I personally am the type of person that says, point me to the problem. And I go figure out what's needed. I figure out who's needed, and I just go deal with it. Other people need something a little bit more collaborative, or they need something a little bit more routine or even redundant, folks especially who are very process oriented. So the types of jobs that you contract for and how you view an employer in a role, in your development, in your direction, really will have to weigh in this type of a decision. For me, at the time that I went out on my own, I left a large company, Booz Allen and Hamilton. I had been there a few years. I was a senior associate there. I decided to go out on my own, and I had clients that wanted to work with me in ways that were not a conflict of interest with my prior employer. They already knew that I was strong in federal business development. They already knew that I was getting master's degree programs under my belt, so to speak. They knew I was competent and capable, and they knew that they could get me at a better rate contracting with me directly than going through a large firm. A large firm can make $200 or $300 an hour off a person they may only be paying $25 to $30 an hour for when you really look at the math. So there's a lot of margin involved in the employer side of this, and they use some of that margin to invest in their development programs and their benefit packages, and some of those are pretty sweet. But I already had my own access to health insurance. I already had my own benefits. And I was capable of going out in the open market and acquiring for a certain amount of money what I needed as more outsourced benefit programs came available on platforms and on the market. So my need for an employer to go and get those for me was just a different value proposition that, while great at the time, wasn't exactly what I needed. And I left a lot of those benefits on the table because they weren't necessarily what I would have picked for myself. Some of the other benefits that you may need to consider versus going solo or subcontracting or being employed by a contractor involve leave and vacation. When you get paid leave and vacation from an employer, that's coming out of their margin. When you're employing yourself, if you don't work those hours, you may not be getting paid. So you need to be able to budget for your time off and to have no income stream because you may be tied to an hourly rate versus a comfortable salary that has a provision for a standard 2 to 3 weeks of paid vacation through a government contractor. Family Medical Leave Act is a consideration. I was with a company at one time in a situation where I had a family requirement and constraint. And even as an employee, I was not eligible for Family Medical and Leave Act because at the time that the family crisis occurred, I had not been on staff for 1 year. Similarly, being self-employed, when I have had family issues and have needed to deal with those, I had to weigh the cost of taking time off with the cost of resourcing other help to help deal with those situations because I was under contract to deliver work on timelines and I couldn't afford to take that time off. That is a really significant consideration that you can probably only truly appreciate. You can definitely understand it, but to really understand it, that the experience of it when it's happening and you have to decide whether to pay your mortgage or take time off, unpaid, like being a single parent or having to be a caregiver of a family member unexpectedly. Those are really significant considerations, and you have to make that decision what's right for you. Also, retirement options. There are retirement programs usually built into your benefits package with an employer. However, the retirement options that you can use with an IRA or setting up your own company 401k are choices that are important for you to look into and make those educated decisions. Next is, does being invited to a team event matter to you? Some clients flew me up for their holiday parties and their win parties. Some were happy that I helped them win the work, but didn't really share the wealth and the celebration because they didn't really consider me part of the inner team. So subcontractors a lot of times don't necessarily get the same invitations and involvement that the inner team does. If you're very extroverted and you're very collaborative and you're very social and you get a lot of validation from your role in something, it might be difficult for you if you're not included in the success and the celebrations of the success of those events. And so you need to decide whether you're willing to take or leave that. For me, that's not as important. I don't really do well in crowds of really people-y people. I like focusing on my content and focusing on my success and then moving on to the next thing. My satisfaction is generating the success, getting the win, and then I want to run off and go do something else very quickly. So that wasn't a big deal to me, but it might be a big deal to you. Thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure to share some of my experiences with you. Please check my website frequently as we roll out more content that may be useful on your journey.